say, man, start that cab. Man down. Errol Spence Jr. hitting the heavy bag. He is getting ready for an upcoming fight with 6'6" Sebastian Fundora. And I can't wait for this fight. Dallas, this EJ City, Dallas. Now, new clips hit the internet. Errol Spence Jr., he looks like he's maintaining. He's clearly doing some type of working out. You know, maybe he's definitely bigger than his walk around weight, but nothing too alarming. You know, we've seen guys like Errol Spence and others puff up in the past where he was trying to make welterweight back in the day, and that was more of a problem. Trying to make welterweight, pushing 180, 190. Now he's planning on moving up to 154 pounds to face none other than Sebastian Fundora. So he's going to be giving himself a much needed break in terms of his weight cut. And I think it'll serve him well. People do not understand weight cutting. I've been with fighters on fight week in their hotels and, you know, locker rooms and different things like that. No Diddy. And I don't think people realize the extremities that some of these guys go through to cut weight. Like, just think of it like this. I think I said this before, but I think this is an awesome way to think about it. When you're talking about holding your weight and maintaining your weight, you don't want to peak too early, but some of these guys have been the same weight and they're pushing late 20s, early 30s. They're still making the same weight that they weighed in possibly high school, right? Because guys, for example, let's say you fought in the amateurs in the 150 range, like let's say like an Errol Spence. He's been at 147 for the longest. So that means he's maintained over the years this competition weight. So a move up was longer overdue, because as men, as we mature, go through puberty, and then puberty stops, you have, as you get older, natural productions that slow down for you, like the production of testosterone, or your metabolism slows, etc., etc. So you're still having to make that cut. When you're young, a lot of guys can do it. That's like asking Canelo to go back down to 154. He would not be able to do it. He would probably get knocked out because he would be depleting himself so much. He spent way too much time at 168, 175. It would be horrible. Payday, you'll want payday. I know that. It would be terrible if he tried to make some kind of crazy sacrifice and go backwards. That's why you seldom see, unless the fighter is just losing and they can't compete in the higher divisions late in their career, a few fighters to try to extend their career, they'll go down in weight. But normally that doesn't work well for fighters who go in reverse and get older, but then they're cutting more weight. Like, you've seen it with like Austin Trout and some guys where he started and he was fighting at 54 and then he's dropping down to 47. I believe you had it with Curtis Stevenson, who he was fighting Golovkin and Lemieux at 160. Late, he tried to do a run at 154. But usually it's the other way around. As you get older, as you enter your 30s, mid 30s, later, it's probably better to go up in weight. And ironically, it's surprising with some of these young fighters what they're having to do, like Ray Ford, to make weight. And the reason, I'm not in their camp, but I can tell by looking at them that their walk around weight and how much they're cutting and their age and things like that. There's a lot of people who are kind of gaming the system in that regard. Devin Haney, another one who, like, how did he outweigh Regis Prograis in his first fight at 140? Literally, Regis Prograis is a career 140 pounder. And I remember that wasn't necessarily the easiest weight cut for him, because a couple years ago, he did like a faux training camp when he didn't even have a fight camp scheduled. And Regis Prograis, what he did was do like a fake training camp just to prove that he can continue staying at 140 and make the weight, because the weight cut was obviously getting harder and harder for him. Then you have a guy like Devin Haney, who literally just got to the division from 135, and he's looking in shape in the Prograis thing, but then they say he rehydrated 25 pounds. By his second outing, was the Ryan Garcia fight. Devin Haney's weighing in naked to make the 140. And that's with the nutritionist, with Devin Haney being a gym rat. So that's alarming, because you shouldn't be able to move up to a division and almost immediately you already need to move up to the next division. Very concerning from these modern fighters. So Errol Spence, I think if he continues to fight, he'll have several fights at 154. Another person that comes to mind with this weight manipulation stuff is Gilberto Zordo Ramirez. Look at how he was at 68. I met him years ago and he looked big, and he's like legit 6'2", 6'2 and a half. And I was like, how's he making 68? He stayed there for X amount of time. Then he moved to 75, got cooked by Dimitri Bivol. And then now he's already fighting at cruiserweight. You know what I mean? So that shows like either a lack of discipline or you're crunching down to a lighter division. And I could talk about this weight stuff all day, but shout out to Errol Spence. It looks like he's doing what's right for his body. He needed to move up. In fact, he should have not surrendered so much to Terrence Crawford. And truthfully, he should have fought against Terrence Crawford at 154 pounds. But he was trying to prove a point, stay there, and fight Terrence Crawford for all the marbles, for the fans, and, you know, undisputed. And he wanted that on his lineage, and he definitely came up short in that fight. So the advice here is if you're the A side and a fighter, do not give up your leverage to anybody under any circumstances. Devin Haney kind of did that. Speaking of him, he did it with Ryan Garcia. He says and claims he was the face of boxing. He gave Ryan Garcia more money. He let Ryan Garcia come in 3.2 pounds and didn't really tax him and didn't cancel the fight. He had no rematch clause. You did a negotiation with a person that beat you half the times you fought him in the amateurs. No rehydration clause. These are just mistakes. And we've seen it with Errol Spence. And notice, I'm the most consistent in boxing. Book it. When Errol Spence made a mistake, I called it. I said he gave up too much to Terrence Crawford. Also, when Devin Haney made mistakes, you know, in the cutting room floor before the fight from a negotiation perspective, I called it. There's a lot of people that can't keep it consistent. They say they have a rule, but the rule only applies to certain people. I don't do that. So Errol Spence, hopefully he's learned his lesson and he doesn't give anybody any type of leverage that they haven't earned, you know, in terms of being A-side, because the Crawford fight was abysmal because he lost virtually every round and you have nothing to show for it. Crawford set history, on the other hand, became a 2X undisputed, and now he's headlining a big card in LA in August. And Errol Spence, some people are looking at it like that could have been you, that should have been you. Moral of the story, always listen to your body. Don't worry about the crowd and the belts. And I told you, the belts really don't even matter anymore. Not saying like in a disrespectful way, but you see Ryan Garcia, he missed weight, beat up Devin Haney, tested positive, and nobody seems to even care. Nobody is saying like, oh, Ryan's not a champion. They're just like, wow, did you see what he did to Devin Haney? You see what I'm saying? So undisputed is a great milestone. And if it's a personal thing and you want to accomplish that, fair play to you. But me, I wouldn't fight for the crowd. Like Floyd said, I ain't fighting for the crowd, because when you lose, they're going to be the same ones making memes about you, making fun of you and saying, ha ha, you got cooked. Look what Bud did to you. I thought it was man down. I thought you were the big fish. So F that. We're not doing that. The other interesting thing here is Errol Spence. He has a legal battle with his longtime trainer. Everybody knew them as like a tight pair, but behind the scenes, things went on. And apparently they're saying Errol Spence owes Derek James money. Derek James is suing him. There's a countersuit. All this type of stuff is going on behind the scenes. Errol, as of me recording the video, has not came out and suggested who his new trainer is, or if he's training himself, or whatever's going on. So I am curious with that too. Who does Errol Spence, because the clip I showed you at the beginning, I've seen him in that gym. There's some gym in Texas, but what is he going to do? Who is he going to train with? Inquiring minds want to know. So I can't wait for that news to develop. Big fan of Errol Spence. He earned it out the mud the hard way. Came up short with Terrence Crawford. You live and you learn. He's back in the picture for another big fight.